It was a dark and chilly evening when Amy Brenner, a third-year medical student, found herself standing in front of the ominous doors of Ward D, the locked psychiatric unit of St. Luke's Hospital. The doors loomed over her, a physical manifestation of her anxiety. She clutched her backpack tightly, her palms damp with sweat, and took a deep breath. This was just a shift, she reminded herself. 12 hours and she'd be out. But the stories she'd heard about Ward D weren't comforting. People whispered about strange occurrences and chilling experiences, but Amy had dismissed them as urban legends. She pushed open the doors, greeted by the sharp buzz of fluorescent lights and the faint scent of antiseptic, mixed with something unidentifiable but unsettling. The receptionist barely looked up as Amy introduced herself. A nurse named Carla, a stern woman in her 50s, approached her with a clipboard and a perfunctory smile. "Amy Brenner, you're the med student?" Amy nodded. "Yes, that's me." "Follow me," Carla said, not waiting for a response. She led Amy through a set of locked double doors that clanged shut behind them with a finality that made Amy's stomach drop. As they walked, Carla explained the rules. "Don't let patients get too close to you. Always be aware of your surroundings. And for God's sake, don't believe everything they say." Amy nodded, trying to absorb the information while ignoring the nervous flutter in her chest. She'd prepared for this. She'd studied psychiatry, read about mental illnesses, and understood the importance of professional detachment. But nothing in her textbooks had prepared her for the oppressive atmosphere of Ward D. They reached the nurses' station, where a security guard and another nurse were chatting. Carla introduced Amy briefly, then handed her a list of patients she'd be observing during the night. "If you have any questions, ask," Carla said curtly before walking away. Amy scanned the list. There were 10 names, each accompanied by brief notes about their conditions. One name caught her eye: Jasmine Wells. The note read, "Severe schizophrenia, unpredictable behavior." Her first task was to familiarize herself with the ward, so she started walking down the hall. The layout was simple: a single corridor lined with patient rooms, a common area at one end and the staff room at the other. The walls were a dull gray, and the dim lighting only added to the somber mood. The silence was punctuated by occasional murmurs and the distant hum of machinery. As she passed by the rooms, she couldn't help but glance inside. Most patients were either asleep or staring blankly at the walls. But when she reached Jasmine's room, she paused. Jasmine was sitting on her bed, rocking back and forth. Her long, dark hair obscured her face, and she was muttering something under her breath. When Amy stepped closer, Jasmine's head snapped up, and their eyes met. "You shouldn't be here," Jasmine said, her voice low but urgent. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. "I'm here to help," she replied, trying to sound calm. Jasmine laughed, a hollow, unsettling sound. "No one helps in Ward D. They only take." Before Amy could respond, Carla appeared behind her. "Come on," she said, her tone impatient. "Let's not waste time." Amy followed Carla, but Jasmine's words lingered in her mind. The night dragged on uneventfully at first. Amy shadowed the nurses, observing how they interacted with the patients. She noticed that the staff seemed detached, almost mechanical in their approach. It was as if they'd built a wall around themselves to keep the ward's darkness at bay. Amy tried to focus on her duties, but the oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily on her. Around midnight, things began to change. Amy was sitting at the nurses' station, reviewing patient files, when a loud crash echoed down the hall. She jumped to her feet, heart pounding, and followed Carla and the security guard to the source of the noise. They found one of the patients, a man named Robert, standing in his room, trembling and staring at a shattered mirror on the floor. "What happened?" Carla demanded. Robert pointed at the mirror. "It wasn't me. He did it." "Who?" Carla asked, exasperated. Robert's eyes darted around the room. "The man in the walls." Amy felt a shiver run down her spine. Carla dismissed Robert's claims and escorted him to the common area to calm down. But Amy couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. As the night went on, more strange incidents occurred. Patients complained of hearing whispers and footsteps when no one was there. Lights flickered inexplicably, and the air grew colder. Amy tried to rationalize these events, attributing them to the patient's illnesses and the ward's aging infrastructure. But deep down, she felt uneasy. By 3 a.m., the tension in the ward was palpable. Amy decided to check on Jasmine again. She found her sitting in the common area, staring at the ceiling. When Amy approached, Jasmine spoke without looking at her. "They're watching you," she said. "Who?" Amy asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jasmine turned to her, her eyes wide with fear. "The ones who run this place. They know everything. They'll make sure you don't leave." Amy's stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" Jasmine leaned in close and whispered, "Ask about the basement." Before Amy could respond, Carla appeared and ordered Jasmine back to her room. Amy hesitated, debating whether to press Carla about the basement, but the older woman's stern expression discouraged her. The rest of the night was a blur of fear and confusion. Amy couldn't stop thinking about Jasmine's words. She began noticing subtle oddities: locked doors that didn't seem to lead anywhere, staff members exchanging cryptic glances, and the distinct feeling of being watched. She decided to investigate. At 4:30 a.m., while the ward was quiet, Amy ventured down a hallway she hadn't explored before. She found a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." Her curiosity overpowered her caution, and she tried the handle. It was locked. Just as she was about to walk away, a janitor appeared, startled to see her. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "What's behind this door?" Amy asked. The janitor hesitated before replying, "It's nothing you need to worry about." Then he hurried off, leaving Amy more suspicious than ever. The shift ended at 7 a.m., and Amy left Ward D feeling drained and uneasy. But she couldn't shake the sense that she'd only scratched the surface of the ward's secrets. Determined to uncover the truth, she resolved to return for another shift, even if it meant putting herself in danger. Amy's subsequent shifts in Ward D revealed more chilling details. She discovered that the hospital had a history of unethical experiments conducted on patients. Records of these experiments were hidden in a forgotten archive, and the basement Jasmine had mentioned appeared to be the epicenter of the hospital's dark past. As Amy delved deeper, she faced increasing resistance from the staff, who seemed determined to keep her from learning too much. The patient's warnings grew more urgent, and Amy's own sanity began to fray. She started hearing the whispers and seeing shadows in the corners of her vision. The line between reality and delusion blurred, leaving her questioning everything she thought she knew. The story's climax came when Amy finally gained access to the basement. What she found there was a horrifying culmination of the ward's secrets. The truth was more sinister than she could have imagined, and her discovery put her life in immediate danger. Amy had to rely on her wits and courage to escape the hospital and expose the truth, if she could survive long enough to do so.